the best way to learn anything is to actually do it, and it's actually a lot of fun, and this is where I enjoy it, is actually teaching and doing it. So we are going to do, for here, we're going to do empathy mapping. So we're going to have those set up in the back of the room. We'll I'll explain this in more detail, but we'll do empathy mapping, interviews, and or journey flows, user journeys. I chose these three because they're easy to get started. They'll provide Texas Camp with good information. So what we're actually going to be learning about is Texas Camp users, this is the weirdest situation ever. This is the only time you're ever going to hear this. You are the actual user. So it's kind of funny, because it's always like, you're never the user, but here you are. It's kind of fun. So, and then I also chose them just because they're fun. There were some of them more visual, more interactive, and get you out of your seats and get up doing stuff. For every methodology, there are limitations, advantages and disadvantages of the information that you can learn, and that's why you want to combine the different things. So what we're going to do, just in general, after I go through them, introduction a little bit, we'll break out into groups, and we'll go and conduct them, and then we'll report back what we've learned and found and kind of present our work, and then also just sort of talk about that technique that we used. So the first one I'm going to talk about is empathy mapping. And this is the diagram. You can see those at the back there. And empathy mapping is a way to characterize your target users in order to make effective design decisions. An empathy map is quick and a rough persona template. So from here we're making personas of our target, of our main audience types. It's a good tool to articulate what you know about a particular user, their needs, their goals, expectations, behaviors, pain points, and so on. Once you've created an empathy map, you can use it as a tool to design for decision making. So kind of a little bit of role playing. What would Joe, the back-end programmer, think about this? I don't know, maybe a session at Texas Camp. So you can kind of set yourself in their thinking to be able to ask how to proceed. At the beginning of a project, we do empathy mapping during our discovery phase and the stakeholder in person during discovery. And a lot of times we do them so that the stakeholders who actually have some knowledge about their users are able to get that information out to us and to others and to articulate it. And also to then be able to think about that information that they know in order to make their design decisions, to then be able to kind of ask that question, what would Joe think about this? So that's why we do it. A lot of times once we start doing user interviews and analytics, all the other user research methodologies that we use, even the user research, we then take that information and use it to validate what we know in our our empathy maps and our personas, or to update and change it. So then we document how we validated it. Let's see, is that working? Okay. So for each part of the diagram, we'll be asking questions, and you can just fill them in. We're going to be using, I have markers and sticky pads, good old user researcher tools. We can write on there and do that. And we're going to be asking, what does the person hear? What are their friends, coworkers saying? What does their boss say? What do people that they follow in social media say? What are other influencers saying to them that will impact their thinking? What does the person think, or how do they feel? What really matters to them? What are their major preoccupations? And what are their worries and aspirations? And then when we look at what does that person see? What are the things in their environment that influence them? What competitors are they seeing? And what are they seeing their friends and coworkers do? When we're talking about what the person says or does, what are their attitudes to others? What do they do in public? And how has their behavior changed? And then we're going to identify their pains, what are their fears, their frustrations, their obstacles, what are their gains, what are they hoping to get out of it, what does success look like for them. So when we start the empathy map, the first step that we're going to do is identify the different audience types. So we'll identify for each map, we'll identify the audience type and actually provide a name. Joe, back engineer, for example. And then we'll break up, once we have our types identified, we'll break up into smaller groups, and we'll have maybe 3 or 4 people per persona type that will actually go through and answer those questions. If you happen to be one of those personas, like, you can ask each other questions about what are you thinking, what are you doing during this step to help answer that, or if you happen to be one of those, you can also add to that as well. At the sessions, the different things, you'll see the note paper pinned up. Those are sort of the step-by-step instructions to be able to help do this. So we'll break out into groups and we'll be all working at the same time in different groups. But this way here, you can keep progressing along. I will be floating along and talking with you and asking questions and leading you around as we continue to develop it. But this way here, you can each group can continue progressing. Okay. So for interview, you really want to, you want to develop your questions first and understand and have a goal of what you want to get out of it. So you're first starting about, like, what do you want to answer? These are your problem statements. For example, what do Texas camp attendees expect to get out from attending? Then we want to reframe that problem statement, and all your problem statements, you're going to come up with a bunch of them. You want to reframe that to get different perspectives of that same topic. For example, in reframing that question there might be, what are 3 criteria that an attendee would use to rate the event as successful for themselves? Or what are some reasons why the attendee would not achieve their goal that they had in attending? So kind of rotating up maybe the different emotions and perspectives of it in reframing it. It gives you more ways. This helps you formulate questions, but also if your interviewee maybe doesn't understand the question you ask, it gives you have another way of rewording that question that may relate to them better. So going through that step is very beneficial. Another thing is we want to be sure when we're building our list of questions that we're asking, we want to be sure not to lead the interviewee in our questions. So, for example, we want to be sure that there are no assumptions built into the questions themselves. For example, how angry do you usually feel when online transactions fail to go through successfully? That's got a built-in assumption of anger there, and it's only a single emotion. Whereas they might be confused or surprised instead. So rather you want recall a time when an online transaction failed to go through successfully. What did you think or feel? So this question opens it up not only to the emotion but also their thought process, and get more. And it's not leading them to narrowly think about their response. So, as shown in our leading question examples there, we want to have them recall and think about incidents that they had in their past. That provides that context for them to think about it and remember about it, and as opposed to being just abstractly thinking about online purchases or something like that. They can really think about the last one they both went to. So, instead of what was the last thing you bought online? I'm sorry. That provides the context. Also with each question, we want to gain more information and insight into the interview's thinking. So we want to open them up. We want a descriptive. We want explanations in their responses. So we want them to provide us details. So we want open-ended questions for that descriptive answer. So instead, what was the last thing you bought online? It's tell me more about the last time you purchased something online. So they can walk you through the steps even of it. Also, ask one question at a time. Don't combine questions. Don't be like, what was the last time you bought something online? What was your impression of that? And how did that make you feel? Or something, combining too many things that they have to respond back to you. Asking a single question at a time. Especially if maybe they had two different reactions with it. They'll be confused. Also thinking about that is like kind of another example of in surveys would be double barrel questions. If anybody has written surveys where double barrel questions is you're asking their opinion about two things in one question, but you're only allowing them to respond to one. So what did you think about what did you think about the location and the time of this event? Well, I liked the location, but I disliked the time or when it was. But they only have one answer. So kind of that similar thinking, and why I asked one question at a time. And also, it's just less cognitive load for the interviewee to think about. You want to plan the order of your questions. You want to progress in a topic. But you also want to prioritize your questions because of time constraints. Identify those questions that are really important. If time is creeping out on you, then you might want to jump ahead or let them know, okay, I'm going to jump ahead because I want to be sure to get to this point and move on with that. And so we also want to have a structure to an interview. We're first going to want to make the user feel comfortable, the interviewee feel comfortable, and have an understanding of what's going on, and not get confused throughout the interview. Want them to share, you might want to share a vague idea of why you're interviewing them, but not want to lead them. So if you're concerned maybe about security, you may be talking about online purchasing, and maybe security is what the main thing you're interested in. You don't want to be suggestive to them about that. You want to start with some warm-up questions just to get them talking. A lot of times what I would do is introduce myself, share a little bit of information about me, let them know that it's comfortable to share, and then ask them questions about themselves or where they live, with the weather, general things that they can warm up on. So some examples that we may want to do here is, are you new to Drupal or have you been using it for a few years? If have them tell us their experience with about Drupal in general. What's your role in making Drupal sites? How do you contribute to the website? And have you attended a Drupal camp before? So they can get them warmed up and asking questions. Then we go on to our main questions. This is the meat. These are the ones we spent the time writing out before and really thinking about. So we have them here and listen. And like I said before, we were talking about giving them time to think and respond. Don't jump in to fill in those quiet moments. Really let them think about it and listen to it, what they're doing. For each one, for this, we're going to break up in groups of 3. So we'll have an interviewer, an interviewee, and a note taker. For the note taker, really try to capture the actual words that were said. Don't paraphrase or rephrase for it. Try as much as possible to capture it. If you're not able to have a note taker when you go out and do user testing or interviews on your own, be sure to record them. You really want to be paying attention to them and not on your note taking itself. Okay, and then lastly, you want to wrap up and give a sense of closure. That thank the interviewee for their time. Maybe even if you're providing an incentive, you can do that then. Or at the beginning. A lot of times people like to provide the incentive at the beginning because it doesn't influence their responses. Thing to think about. I haven't had too many times I had to actually do incentives. So then the last technique that we're going to try is a user journey. And basically a user journey it expands beyond a single task or product and looks at how the entire process fills into the larger context, how the user relates to the whole larger context of it. So we're going to use how users, for Texas Camp users, how did they find out about it? How did they discover it? How did they find out information? How did they determine to come, their decision-making process to come? How did they get approval? Did they have to get approval for work? Was it their own decision? Did they have to get approval for funds, flights? Did they have to make travel arrangements? Did they have to make work arrangements to cover for them or on Friday? So kind of just going through that entire process from beginning to long after Texas camp. We're going to identify all, so the steps for here is first identify all those steps, and then for each step, as a group, we're working and filling in these grids of their actions. What were the user needs and what the user needs to do in order to move to the next step? Questions: is there any needs that they need answering before they can go to the next step? If they need additional information that needs to be provided to them at that time that could otherwise stop them from moving along. What are the happy moments? What are the things that they enjoyed or was good and successful, made it easy for them? What were their pain points, their frustrations during that step? What could be spoiling their experience there? And then the opportunities for us to enhance the design or implement new features. What are the opportunities that we could, in that step, just that single step, that we can explore? So that's what we're going to do. We have each of those. Again, there's instructions there. So we're going to divide up into 3 groups. One will be the interview group, one will be the user empathy map group, and one will be user journey. And what I'm going to just have you do is count off by 3. So if you could start off over there. Okay.
2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. 3. 1, 2. 3.
Okay. So 1s will be interviewees, 2s will be user journeys, and 3s will be empathy mapping. Woo! Okay. So this is the first step for each of them, but on the pinned papers are also the additional steps, and I'll be floating around working with you all. So empathy mapping will first start identifying the different audience groups. Interview group will start by identifying what you want to answer. What is the information you need to get? And then the user journey group will start by identifying the steps that they have to work through. And you'll find markers and stickies kind of located near your sections. Feel free to use those. A lot of times you might want to write on the stickies so you can move things around, particularly the user journey. You might have to reorder those steps so people think the new one. All right, let's begin.
Someone missed the first session, which that would be good for them, right? That one.
Okay.
Yeah, is that what we're doing? So what did she say? Oh. Okay, 1 and 2. Okay.
Sorry.
Is there more?
Number 1.
One's over there. Three back here.
One is interview. What group is this?
Yes.
So that's this one. All right. So it works. I'll start with you guys. Yeah. So one thing I thought for this particular group is that it might be good to write out your steps and you start sliding off there. So what were the steps you personally took in order to decide on how to Texas camp, what your process like here, what your process afterwards, and then as around somebody will
Yeah, what our problem statements are.
then broadly for other stuff.
So
Our problem statement is Texas Champ.
Take that with you, read the other group,
Individually or as a
So
group?
you're playing the steps, so you're kind of playing both roles of researcher and user here.
We're going to work through the
You might
whole
want to ask
process,
each other the
coming up with the
questions.
problem
But
statements, the
since
refined
all
problem
the users, I
statements,
thought we should
actual
like
questions.
And then let's, yeah, that's like a way to kick it off, and start writing your steps down.
Our problem statement is about Texas.
It would be like things like, what was your most, what did you think was
The whole, your whole process. Your whole,
This might be-
finding out about this.
what information do you want to know from others that it's
What
not?
reason?
So maybe the reason why they tend to.
Not just audible,
How would you then?
but outside and all
They come back.
And here,
Well, is this post or pre? I was thinking it was pre, is like, what is it that you want to know in order to decide to attend?
Yeah.
Because the post is
You're going great.
Yeah.
That's what I think is really nice.
If you're here and you need that one, it would be, you know, was it, well, worthwhile is to do it again, right?
I think there's the,
Well, I guess we could just reframe it too.
Yeah, so
Like, what is it makes it worthwhile?
So you may want to.
Yeah, did you get your ideas down?
Yeah, you can just.
Well, I'm moving these around because I'm not getting ready to write everything down. I'm just trying to figure out what the hell.
Write a whole bunch of ideas.
well, I guess we can
And
start
start
by
identifying different types of.
why did you,
Well, we might do it like we identify too many. We might like see how they're getting merged. I think I got it. Oh, thanks. Okay, how are you guys making out? We're not, we need to, oh no, okay.
This was me creating as far as we're trying to find out what it is. What they thought. We want to go to how they found out about Texas Camp, what factors made their decisions to Texas Camp, that kind of stuff.
Sure, you can say you want to focus the interview on just afterwards, say you want to focus the interview, you can decide when you want to focus your interview. Feel free to determine that. Because one of the decisions you're going to make when, you know, well, who, do I want to talk to only people who have already been to Texas? Maybe that's what we want to talk to. Determine questions there. So first you want to identify what, so is that what you want to do? Or do you want to do people first timers or? First timers to Texas camp, Drupal camp, any Drupal camp, only experienced Drupal camp, people who have been to a lot of Drupal camps before, how does this compare to that?
So we just pick one demographic.
Yeah.
Can I just ask a question? Is anybody here, is this your first, anybody's first, or is this?
Well, first Texas camp, well, yeah.
This is my first time.
Okay, excellent.
I was just curious. What do we need to decide what perspective? Like, if I was doing this as an organizer, I'd be focusing on like, you know, am I increasing the market? Did I increase the community? As opposed to an individual, I look at it, did it improve my knowledge? Am I going to be able to reduce this or something?
Right.
So I would interview differently depending on what I'm trying to get at.
Right, very much so. So, when you're talking about increasing the market, what do you mean with it?
I mean, like, I want to have a more successful camp, which might be, yeah, attendees, a higher quality speaker.
The whole point of Texas camp is, we have one for the state, it's gonna rotate. It's Austin now, but it's Dallas, like, it's gonna change cities each year.
I didn't know that. Okay.
I think, my
Yeah, that is the
conceptually,
plan.
right, that's what I understand it to be, so it's Austin now, so I vote we go with, you're here now, obviously our answers can inform anybody that didn't get to go to this one, because certainly proximity is an issue. If I'd had to travel, that was a whole different can of worms.
Right.
So, maybe that's one of the questions, that's having proximity.
Right, so that's what I'm thinking, let's go with like, instead of, and whatever our answers are can inform subsequent possible people. But why don't we do something that'll inform more of like what worked? Well, I'm not doing well. It's like too early, more coffee.
Yeah, we're working this for the session at the end of the day, so just scan 28.
Yes.
I would say focus on people who have been, I would say post.
Are here now.
So after the event,
Yeah.
Okay.
have attended. Okay, great.
I think how far would you travel is good.
Okay, I'll just start writing.
How far did you travel and how far would you travel?
Yeah.
Okay.
Marketing is kind of a big.
So we're focusing on people who attended the event, attended this event. That's what the goal is.
Yes.
Okay. And we're interviewing after the event.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So we got our context. Now we're identifying some information. You're doing great identifying the information that you want. So you want to keep coming up with things like
I
that.
see people trying to learn, people trying to sell.
That's really cool.
Okay, so did you attend?
So
You guys can grab. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Grab. I'm just going right so fast.
All right.
Thanks, Donna.
Yeah, absolutely. I got more stickies and more markers too.
Oh yeah, we're good. We got a Sharpie party going.
Okay, cool.
So far, we just had,
Do you need more
how far did you travel? How far would you travel? What's your level of expertise with Drupal? And I just put our little.
What about something like what area of Drupal were you most interested in?
Yep.
Okay, ready? Take it out.
Did you want to start writing down?
Which track? And things like that. It was actually supposed to be an answer or aiming here. Okay, so let's just identify each step. So let's identify step one. One step, that's the first sticky group, and we'll identify that. All steps.
We're trying to figure
So
out.
start with that. I learned. So what are your steps? Okay, so
Yeah, we really are.
I heard about right college.
Just like, just try to get, sometimes, so.
Good for
So there's something, let's keep
hearing about it.
Okay, so what do we want to know?
Okay, so let's identify the steps about that.
We want to know.
About that.
And how that works.
So
Broader, sort of a broader stroke, if you want to know, take the answers and
the
we're
point
going to
in
inform the next
time,
candidate.
my
What's the
summary
goal, really?
would be the
We want to know things
how did
like
I
how much do you
discover
charge next year?
about it? So how did I?
So you want to know
How did I
what people are willing to pay, why they pay,
things
what
that
they
will
wanted to get out of it.
the time, the
How do you phrase this
processes
question?
that I go to like flow.
Not everybody is doing
So I first learned about.
Why would you be here?
Yeah, networking.
Yeah, it's legit.
You don't have to say learn, you could say.
But you're still learning about Japan.
What are you,
I mean, learning is
what do you want to get out of it? It's either learning,
Okay.
hiring.
Steps? Yeah.
Motivation to-
Okay.
So, okay, so what that you want to know from us, so.
Okay, gotcha.
We want to know people's travel budget.
Each one, yes.
I mean, as a
Well,
part of
that's
it.
an overall expense, right? So how much it
Well,
costs.
I mean, as an organizer, because I've organized.
Oh, they all correlate.
Well, that right.
And what is the registration and what are they willing to
Yeah, so
pay?
you're here, I apologize, so here you're identifying.
What is their budget? That's what we want to learn. That's what the question is, but we want to know.
So what's
Would it help if
and
you
then
knew like how many
maybe
people here
before you answer your question,
sponsor
let's just
companies
say,
like
well,
Yes.
so what happened after I discovered
Yes,
why?
that's true. Did you pay?
What happened?
Well, certainly you do pay for
Okay.
it.
Sign up.
Sign up. Okay.
Well, he didn't necessarily be sponsored, the company sponsored. They pay for your engagement.
You have to say,
So if you'll start pressing on here, and you can start having it around. What are,
Oh, we did that right.
maybe what are different?
Okay, so still from a global perspective, let's talk broad stroke. Is motivation for things? Is that?
I did the
Well, I
same
think
thing.
also everything's trying to tell.
Yeah, you covered that.
From the
People looking to hire developers.
Okay, so you need to.
What challenges would you face in attending a future?
Any costs?
Okay, is it okay?
Sure. Yeah, like I said, maybe San Antonio. Dallas.
Well, that's how you, yeah.
That's his drug.
Maybe San Antonio.
Where they have it in Midland.
Considerations for possibly like live streaming. But I can't actually be told that my daughter's in that.
Sometimes you can't be in front of the screen. It's not even matter. We're recording simultaneously, so the recording is.
You need refine problem statement.
One of them.
No, that's why I was trying to figure out.
I mean, I think the major questions are, what gets you here?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yes.
We've got those.
And certainly budget, and then honestly, time and location. Because we had people that came that the weekend, they were like, so that affected them versus during the week. You know what I mean?
Do I have to get that approved?
You might need to have personal experience.
Do you need maybe traveling? Is the step?
So that is, that's a problem statement. We want to know if a weekend or a weekday is better.
Oh, yeah.
Travel. Which is looking at
It's a big one, actually. Like, depending on who you're targeting. We're all good. It's SEO.
contacts, I guess.
So maybe that's it. Any other questions?
Yeah, okay, so maybe that goes on
What other, you want a Bible? Yeah, what you got here? You got the badge. I have a great idea. Okay, we have arrival, and then after arrival, when did you guys determine what sessions you wanted to go to?
These are all marketing. Marketing goals and people who are. Let's ask some questions like we have.
What other questions? What questions guys have?
The idea being that would probably impact the content. You know, it's less focus on the individual person.
I like this development question. We don't really have
That's good about the context.
So just that high level question, how do you know the questions that you come up with? Problems that how do you market work for the interview questions? I think we have something
Probably would be things like the
I thought that's what was trouble. Am I on the wrong track?
Well, every question.
What about what else did you do in my time off?
budget, productivity.
Oh yeah, this is definitely a pain point. So I had to miss the first day due to business trips.
Is it going to problem or, yeah, put it in the.
That might be under travel.
That could be an activity.
I think social trade.
These are one for attending.
Maybe okay, so we have social ways, we're doing.
So how far wood is that?
Maybe we're gonna wrap up. We're gonna go home. And then maybe what's gonna happen post?
Well, actually, the way you really,
That's what you're all
what the how to
What for? What would you
then
like?
find out things like how far is it matter of how You have to fly, but that means it's out. What's your range for the right?
Problem is just
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's, it's kind of fuzzy.
So, John, if you're.
Some were like, here's my slides, and some were like, I don't know what to do about it.
I know I'm supposed to share.
Mostly marketing.
I
But budget, I mean by budget.
Right, you want to go to something or. Yep.
Yesterday happened for life.
I know.
They're talking about history of money. Why did they
Yes, that's
So it's ours about.
Yeah, that's awesome. They were great years for
Our negative.
They would
Prevent you from taking corrections.
Wow.
That's pretty open-ended.
Based on.
Actually, it built.
Because I have a family event this weekend.
Right, which comes down to date and time on the weekend. So I'm trying to get like, what is our problem?
What is your
What is the problem?
Yeah. WTF, WTH,
So they do that, they find that out at Texas Care?
Well, and then the budget is, how much? Too much.
So if you go to what might permit you from what's your motivation? What's your motivation?
yeah, maybe whatever you think, maybe we're sharing.
Opportunities.
That sounds like, yes.
Budget. Probably two better. Yeah, just two better. Everyone else is what's
So we kind of mentioned that it would be nice to have
those could be our four big problems.
actually a
Already
better
got questions already.
an opportunity, a better.
Does it work? Yeah, that's where we actually go through the whole thing with here's one more questions. As far as let's go through all that.
Oh, we have that.
Submitted to the board.
And actually, it should be kind of grabbing questions. Be like, what is your role?
Right. Those are all.
Would have been good.
So,
It was
what about?
Yes, yes, I know. I didn't hear it. And it was a good thing. Yes, I just want
But you're rocking
small things, but most good to have. Yes, I mean, that's the whole
Should we put these on the board?
We can go with, why did you 10 or not 12? Let's go with 10. This gets well, I also think that's, this is
Just learning and absorbing, so that whatever we're learning.
location and days of week and hours.
How we doing up here?
We're working on. We actually ended up with one question first. We're actually going to go back and obviously questions.
Yes. Now because this is probably having that all together, so yeah, kind of go back and forth. Yeah, so how would you maybe order them? Maybe start at one that you want that answer. So you'd be sure not to miss them. You're going to do that for your notes in an interview too. Have them identify someone, start, that's a question that you want to do. So if you want to move over to that, do that. Yeah, you can do that. We're gonna draft up a couple of lists and share what we all learned. So let me get to move on to that. Identifying
Long weekend.
yes, it is. Yeah, because we have so much time.
So she's okay for that. Nebulous are a problem.
Yeah, that seems like it's good.
It was CMS developed by IBM. I think it was just called CMS. And they put in place
Which is comes back into our problem statement, right?
it's a real thing. I want to say they ceased development of 10 years ago. So we've just been using it. Not being updated.
So intro.
To the issues in the
Back to our problem.
Well,
The whole point of somebody sitting down.
they're usually flipping else. I don't know if you want to necessarily encourage people to take the other. I don't think there's something where they can change something over. Set things up, but then it all costs a bunch of
He's got a roll right there. But I think isn't that why we're sitting down? It's like it's not a question. That's what I mean. But that goes back to our problem.
But on our, yeah.
And very jealous of.
That's why I'm wondering, because we don't, I wasn't a decision maker in any of this, but I'm wondering how our developers they're very
Oh, sweet. I can tell. You're vibing it. You're like, you're sticking your man at work too.
Through other research, we validate
We're at 12 of each
That's one of the concepts.
And then,
I would say totally.
yeah. Yep. Alrighty, everyone, I'm gonna have everybody wrap up.
Where's the one we ran?
We're gonna wrap up. What I'm gonna have you do next is we're gonna share what we learned, what our experience was. Share what we learned about that Texas camp with each other.
That was good exercise.
Cool. Cool.
Well, but you mentioned
That was a
lunch
happy
food
day.
conference.
Okay, actually. I'm gonna let the empathy group start first. I know the interview group is still working. Interviews are hard.
And then get into the topic.
Organizing interviews are hard.
So there we go.
Then you can
say, did
Location liaisons in there.
So,
Oh, yeah, and then we
for the empathy group,
And that's the one if you want
can
to
you
stand up.
talk to us? I'm gonna have
This
one
is
of
the
them
other
from each
side
year.
of
We're
it,
gonna
which
do really
is
short.
right.
I guess everybody for each thing and probably do. But first, will you tell us the different types of audiences you identify? You guys identified a bunch over there.
Yes. We have Debbie, the developer. We also have Sam, the sponsor. We have Clifford, the client. And these are some people that we saw here this week at the Texas camp.
I love that variety of those. I was super excited. A variety of audiences. So if each one can kind of explain, just walk through us at a high level what Debbie the developer is thinking, doing.
For Debbie, the developer, some of the things that mattered to her was the ability to implement and the growth in what she was learning here this week at the Texas camp. The learning automation and implementation again, knowledge, and then just the scheduling of everything. Some of the things that we saw were new procedures. We saw people being committed. It was fun. Very collaborative effort, going through sprints and whatnot. Some of the things that we heard, it was encouraging from your employers or from other people that were here. We've seen growth in each other as far as our understanding and the impact that it's having on our workflow and our ability to do things. Some of the things that we are seeing people say and do are the ability for what they're learning and the knowledge, and then contributing is another big factor here going through these things. And then the struggle. The struggle bus has been here this week. For some of us, we're having to learn new design phases, new implementations, and it really is encouraging to see other people struggle. So, some of those pains where some of us are overstimulated now, so we've got all this information, this juice and juju's going through our brains, and we're wanting to go home and put it on paper and get it to actually get it to function. There's a learning curve, so some of us are probably going to make that or not make that, and that's going to be fun. And then the hangover. Either party or information. So you either have an information hangover or you just have a party hangover. Some of the games that we saw were understanding and knowledge in different platforms and just learning modules or whatever it was from information that you learned this week. New friendships developed, networking from the vendors and from like-minded people here. So those are some of the things that we saw.
Awesome, thank you. How about Sam, the sponsor?
We had Sam, the sponsor, and what he's thinking and feeling is that he wants to build relationships, get visibility, show his expertise, and that kind of stuff. He hears from other people, and is it worth it? Is it, from maybe from family, why don't you spend time with us instead of blowing your whole weekend? And from other sponsors, we have the best team, so. And then what does he see? He sees other presentations, he sees competitors and collaborators, he sees who the clients are of his competitors, and new Drupal use cases. And what does he say and do? He collaborates, he starts sharing ideas and brainstorming with others. What is his pain? Money and getting new people, new developers, and gains. What does he gain? New partnerships and new projects.
Awesome.
So we've had Clifford. We decided he was probably a first-time attendee. He's here because he's thinking and feeling, thinking about his 3-week deadline, which might actually be a yesterday deadline. And he's looking for whether there's people who are available and capable of actually doing the project. So he's looking around for people who could do it right when he needs it. His main goal is caliber of talent, and he's also thinking about the expense of taking on somebody new. What he's seeing is he's seeing other people's ads, he's seeing his competitors, he's seeing what they're trying to do, he's seeing the time investment, and he's seeing the Drupal's this awesome product with the source, and so it's going to be a nice, easy way for him to start. See pain points in a second. What he's saying and doing is learning the basics to maybe understand what he's interviewing for. So he may not know what he needs to know yet for a site. He may not know what's possible. He may have heard from one person that's not possible, but he might be like, so he's validating that. He's looking for freelancers or agencies, a lot of depend on his budget. What he's doing to find those is he's going to like the after parties, the lunches, the drinks. He's attending sessions. He's social networking. He's observing what everybody's actually doing. So he might be going to sessions just to see what's happening and what the presenters are doing, what the people in the room are doing. What's he hearing about? He's hearing, hey, WordPress would be easy. Why don't you go try WordPress? You can do it yourself there. What's Drupal? Why Drupal? Like when you go home and you hear all of your friends say, what is Drupal? Like that's not an easy conversation to have, especially if it's your first time attending this and you're kind of here to look for something else, not to necessarily learn everything yourself. Pain points and the learning curve. Drupal is not the easiest CMS to wrangle.
I'm really sure you should use easy in the same.
I know.
It really doesn't even belong next to the word Drupal.
Although it's great, and so it has so much capability. So there's all this stuff that you're going to be seeing and learning, and you're going to be overwhelmed. And so it's another one that's like too much to take in, because some of this you might be like, wow, that's incredible. Who can I possibly get to do this? Other than the person who's just told me it's possible. Do I even believe them? Location, they might be like, oh, this is convenient for networking, but it might be like, man, I wish it was live streamed, and they would miss the networking. So that pain point might be there for them. And there's also simultaneous sessions that can also be ways. The gain is meeting new people, getting to meet the person they're going to hire. That's the main objective for them.
Cool. Let's go on to our user journey here. First, can you walk us through all your steps that you identified?
Sure.
We all walk away.
Yeah. We got discovery, approval, registration, travel arrangements, arrival, actually attending, the social aspect of it, leaving. I guess we had on a few more here, sharing and using it afterwards.
Okay, so maybe briefly, because there's a lot.
Just
there.
summarize.
Maybe like summarize each step.
Yeah, so discovery, like, hey, how'd you find out about this? Checking out the website, is it a nice website? Do they even know what they're doing design-wise? Oh, we have an important question for me. Pricing was, what's the pricing like? What's the time frame? Doing an online search, how easy was it to find the information that I want? And then some of the questions there, like, what is Texas Camp? Time commitment, who's hosting it, who's going, do I know anyone that's going? Happy moments, how easy the website to use, how easy is the ticketing process, pain points, the online, and I noted this as well, the specifics were low in regards to the actual courses, and it made the decision kind of difficult, like is it even worth paying extra for the Friday sessions? So I kind of wrestled with that personally. Approval process, checking with interested parties, in my case, wife and children, is there availability, our bosses, and people we answer to. Other questions, are these classes valuable, are they worth my time? Happy moments, one of them for me was my boss was super supportive of training and encouraged more. So that was really great. Nobody provided any pain points there, and so no opportunities either that we noted at this time.
Registration. I revisited the site several weeks before the camp to learn more, to figure out what sessions I was actually going to do. My boss registered the group. Okay, so someone's boss registered the group. Okay, so it's kind of more the same. Paying for registration. Some of the questions I put up there were cost, availability. Is there a discount? Yes, you guys had a great early bird discount that I missed, but what was pretty awesome, I mean, the pricing in general was fantastic. And I put that as a happy moment. This was a no-brainer to attend, super easy to get the boss to get behind. This was a deal and a great opportunity, and I noted the early bird as well. Travel arrangements, directions to the location, booking hotels, parking, or booking a flight if you're flying in. Some of the questions: am I free? How close is it? Cost of hotels, etc. Happy moments: travel, pickle, conveniently located. That was good for me, even though I'm south. On the weekend was a lot better to travel than during the week, which would have been absolutely terrible. I mean, just a whole new level of terrible. If you don't live in Austin, you do know what I'm talking about. So, pain points: business trip travel maxes, getting home late, missing first part of the second day, takes up the weekend time, so that's also a pain point, and as well as a positive that I noted. And having to miss someone had to miss due to a business trip the first day. Arrival, we had registration and badges for our actions taken. Some of the questions I noted were: what do I do? Where is everything, and where do I go? That was some of the things that I encountered. Some of the happy moments were warmly welcomed. Yeah, I think the staff was great, so I can definitely weigh in on that, and we didn't know any pay points or opportunities. Attending, decide which sessions to go to, evaluating each morning what's going to be best use of my time, what's going to be most valuable to me, or hey, is this something totally new that I want to learn about? And there were a lot of opportunities like that for me personally. Some of the questions were why the weekend, and since I can't be there due to complications, do you offer live stream, which y'all didn't. But I noted that I didn't know, but I think we should know that. I think that's a really good opportunity to provide. That live streaming would be a really cool idea. We'll jump back here. Some of the happy moments were audience engagement and participation, and I would say also the fact that was encouraged. That was really great. For me, it was a somewhat convenient location. Again, I'm south, but a lot of people are in Austin, so that makes this a really nice location, I think. I like the fact that it was pretty open-ended, and you could kind of choose your own path to greatness or not greatness. So I thought that was a nice idea. The weekend was also a happy moment as well as a pain point, so I noted it in happy moments. And I also like the fact that all the classes will be available online and get better understanding of resources available. Some of the pain points were lots of sessions and not a lot of time for hands-on. It's a very long weekend, extending Friday to Sunday. Not all the rooms have enough power plugs. One slides for all classes, but I didn't encounter a problem with that. It seemed like most people were providing the slides, so maybe some other people have some different experience in regards to that. I guess this was also noted: diversity of speakers. Friday's session getting started too long. It's too late when you were meeting that? Overlapping of classes that people wanted to attend. And some of the opportunities that I noted were less sessions. I think it could maybe be a little more focused, a little more hands-on. I find that for most people, memory retention, particularly myself, is better if I get some hands-on opportunity to experiment with some of these new tech and stuff like that. So that'd be, I think, a really great thing. And meeting local people to network. So maybe some defined time for that, I guess is what you're saying, would be a great opportunity. That was attending, right? So social, the after parties for questions, actions going to the after party. Questions could be closer to, for convenience, like the after party. Happy moments, social space in between sessions. I think that was a great thing. And I like the fact that there was a little bit of time in between the sessions as well, so that's great. Attending the after party was also a happy moment, I guess, for some, if we attended. Some of the pain points were there was no parking. I'm assuming that's at the after party since there's plenty of parking here. Not easy to get to, so yeah, that's definitely talking about the after party. the fact that it was on Rainy Street. I noted the fact that it was a bar. It's not a place that I regularly attend, so traffic, I don't know what the traffic was like, and at the time for me it was difficult because I had to go way south, and then to come back out to Austin again was like, wow, that's probably not going to work for me. Some of the opportunities, someone noted that it could be at one of the locations in the Domain, which is pretty nearby, but not so far south, so maybe that works better for some of the people kind of centrally centered or north. Leaving questions or actions evaluation, and one of the big questions, would you go to the camp again? One of the opportunities noted here was follow up with contacts, sharing and using, actions taken to share information in comparison to other camps, sharing info not only with co-devs, also with others non-tech I work with. What was that? Oh, I guess those are all actions, sorry. Questions, what text editor do you use for Mac? Access to lectures, post-conferences. Some happy moments. Met a stranger that helped me with Unix. I also met a stranger who was a Circus guy. And then just after actions, after conference thoughts and opportunities, follow up with networking. So, I don't know if that was a summary, but I tried.
Deputy developer and the user journey both kind of noted about organizing the content, or this dump load of information and organizing it, access to the sessions and making that easier and things like that. Like, I personally don't know the answer to that question. Maybe who is it? Like, as a speaker, how do I give access to it, or where do they find the presentations? I know yesterday's presentations are supposedly available. They're on YouTube.
They're on YouTube. Okay. We have the videos on YouTube, and then if you want to upload the speaker notes, we can put them on the joined in site. And let me put this back. Invaluable information for us for next year. So I cannot thank her enough for doing this, and thanking you for participating.
We are over time. Does anybody mind that we stay a little bit so we can hear the interview questions? Sure. Okay. Well, because
we'll be short.
Cutting
this is pretty hard work too.
Yes.
But thematically, we basically came up with a lot of the same things that were identified in these, which that's something to note neat from a UX perspective, is you can pick up a lot of the same information. So we start out with our problem statements, and a lot of our problem statements, we started asking more questions first. So we actually started doing a cycle back and forth between, all right, these questions, what categories of problems do they deal with, so that we can go down here, we reframed them. The reason why they're not here is because we ran out of time, so we had to start moving some of our reframed things down here to the latter part of the process. And so we went through that part of the process where we reframed them. We had all of our questions over here, and then we started stacking things over here to go ahead and set up our. We didn't actually get to interviews. That's I think probably the group will agree that one of the biggest things we came up with was the wording for the questions to eliminate bias and to be accurate and not have some overlap, but not too much. It's going to take a lot of time, and that's the reason why I think one of the reasons why I think we ran out before we got here. So, so we get to our interview structure, and we basically the introductions that we want to go better for the future. And that's why we're soliciting feedback, to get people so they understand how important it is that their feedback is going to be for us. For warm-up questions, we came up with little things like that were actually not only warm-up questions. These guys were great, but they were also like little fact-finding demographic classification questions, like what role are you in your organization? We're trying to find out if they're actually a developer or use UX manager or anything along those lines. We talked to them a little bit about their work, what level of expertise they have with Drupal in the past, their noob or their real experience, and then how far did they travel. And on that topic, what we're actually getting to is we want to find out how far would you travel. Is that a factor? And we just went ahead and left that in a warm-up rather than coming back to it in the main question, even though we consider it to be a pretty important one, is to figure out the geographic range, how much travel is up. So we kind of came up when we get down here into the questions, we get into the categories that we came up with over here. The problem statements is we look at things in about 4 different areas. Is what are the challenges for attending? And is that geographical? Is that sponsorship cost-wise? That kind of stuff. What is the budget that people would come up with, and how has that changed if you're being sponsored by your employer and that kind of stuff? So we had these over here in the problem statements, and this is how they shifted over here into the questions. So we came out with the first big open-ended one is why did you attend? So we started looking into the motivations, and we were hoping to get a lot of things that we saw in these right here. What might prevent you from attending in the future? So we turn around and flip that one back over. And then another one I just threw up here is we were talking, is there a social aspect kind of going in for the why did you attend, in case we're looking for, because most of our questions here have to do with kind of development and knowledge, but so I wanted to throw in one here for the social aspect, which is one of the main reasons why I attend, the networking, social and networking. Then we went into kind of going back to this concept of level of Drupal experience. What area of Drupal are you most interested in? Did they attend the Friday training? Whether or not they found it to be worthwhile? Useful tracks. Which tracks were most useful? And again, since we classified people up here earlier as far as their demographics, developers or UX or something, then this question will help frame that. That would be something to look at. Any challenges that they had for attending? That was again one of our problem statements. So we go into anything they had in particular, even though they still came, if there was anything that would be a consideration for the future. And then from here we go into, would it have been easier on a weekend or a weekday? How much would you pay? How much relatively? How much was this particular fee this time around? How big of a factor was that for you? And then that I already mentioned employee sponsorship, and if they have a budget, attending what and whether travel was a big factor. If you have to fly, does that mean it's out for Texas camp? Did it need to be within driving range? And then opportunities. What kind of opportunities did you see from attending? So these are the questions that came. We hadn't really had a chance to prioritize them yet, or get into the wrap up. We ran out of time.
Awesome. Thank you everyone for attending and participating and participating and providing so much information and doing this. I hope you all had fun doing it. I personally think UX is really fun and a lot of enjoyable, and it's something that you can really do.
I was able to voice all my questions.